Hello everyone, I'm Anastasia. I welcome you all to this new session of Fundamental of Nursing. So in this session, we are going to discuss about a very important topic, which is the biomedical waste management. So this biomedical waste management is followed in the healthcare facility always. Why? Because here it is very important how we segregate the waste, how we dispose it, as well as how we handle the waste which is being produced in the healthcare facility. So now let's move to the definition of this biomedical waste management. Biomedical waste management is defined as the waste which is produced during diagnosis, treatment, immunization of the human being as well as of the animals, or the waste which is produced while conducting any research activities or even in the production of testing of biological. So this is what biomedical waste management is. In simple words, we can say that it is the proper way of disposal of the waste which is produced during any procedure or treatment which is being performed for the patient in the hospital. So what is the importance of this biomedical waste management? Here, by following this biomedical waste management, it helps to protect as well as to maintain a clean and a hygienic environment. Nowadays, since we all know that the air as well as the environment in which we live in is very polluted, so the government has taken or has made several efforts in order to reduce this pollution. Thus, one step to control this pollution in the healthcare facility is by following this biomedical waste management. This biomedical waste management also promote the health of the human being as well as of the other living creatures, as we know that the waste which is produced in the hospital can also contribute infections such as AIDS, hepatitis B, or even tuberculosis. So here, if we follow this biomedical waste management, then it can promote the health of the human beings as well as of the other living creatures, because through this we will be able to dispose of the waste in the right way to prevent any hazards which can occur to the human beings or even to the other living creatures. As the rules of this biomedical waste management is notified by the government time on time, it has also become a statutory legal obligation. So here, in order to provide a clean environment to the patient, in order to prevent the spread of infection, as well as in order to promote the proper disposal of waste, this biomedical waste management is very important to be followed in the healthcare facility. Now moving on to the types of hospital waste. So this hospital waste consists of two types. The first one is the hazardous waste and the second is the non-hazardous waste. This hazardous waste is further divided into potentially infectious waste and potentially toxic waste. So what is non-hazardous waste? These wastes are the ones which are non-hazardous, which means which are not infectious or which does not contain any body fluid, secretion or excretion of the patient. So in this category, so what is non-hazardous waste? Here from the name itself, we can understand that these are the waste which is produced in the hospital. However, they are not hazardous, which means these wastes are not the ones which are contaminated by the blood, the body fluid, the secretions of the body of the patient, but these are just the general waste that is produced. For example, the kitchen waste, the general office waste such as the stationery, the wrappers, the newspaper, the bookcase, etc. Whereas hazardous waste are the ones which are contaminated with the body fluids, the blood, the secretion, and the excretions of the patient. This waste is very dangerous because, as I have said, it will be contaminated with the body fluid, the blood, the secretion, the excretions of the patient, right? So here, through these ways, various microorganisms may be present which may be transmitted from that infected person to the host, or even from that patient to the healthcare worker, or even from that particular patient to the other patients as well. So since I have said that this hazardous waste further consists of the potentially infectious waste and the potentially toxic waste, so this potentially infectious waste include the dressing or any other item which is soiled with the blood, body fluid, past the laboratory samples, any syringe equipments or sharp instrument which was used for performing any procedure for the patient, or even through their tissues, their organs, or even the placenta. So this includes only the secretions from the body of the patient, whereas in the potentially toxic waste consists of the radioactive waste which can be solid or liquid, the chemical waste which can be inflammable, corrosive, or even toxics, as well as the pharmaceutical waste. These pharmaceutical waste are the medications which can no longer be used or which has already expired. So all of these falls under this potentially toxic waste. So these are the types of waste. Now moving on to the next, that is the category of waste. Here there are 9 categories of waste, which includes the infectious waste, the pathological waste, the sharps, pharmaceutical waste, genotoxic waste, or even known as the cytotoxic waste, the chemical waste, waste with high content of heavy metals, pressurized container, and the radioactive waste. So what are these infectious wastes? These infectious wastes are the wastes which are suspected to be contaminated by the pathogens. So these are mainly any equipments, any item or material which was in contact with the infected person, because it is believed that these items which was used by the infected person may be contaminated, where there will be presence of these pathogens, which when is used by the other patient, or when the medical health professionals touch it without wearing gloves, then it can lead to the transmission of these pathogens. The second one, which is the pathological waste, includes the human tissues as well as the organs. So here any items which is contaminated or which was in contact with the body fluid, the organ, the secretions, or the blood of the patient falls under this category. So the third one is the sharp, or also known as the injurious waste. So these are the waste which consist of the sharp objects such as the needles, infusion sets, scalpels, knife, blades, broken glass ampoules, the glass slides, as well as the test tubes. So here, after this has been used for the patient, we must make sure that we discharge it properly, because these objects can harm or can also injure the other person who may touch them. And the next one is the pharmaceutical waste. So these are the ones in which the medications which has been expired or can no longer be used, or even as well as any items that are contaminated or which contain these pharmaceuticals falls under these categories. For example, the boxes or even the bottles which contain these pharmaceuticals or which was contaminated by these pharmaceuticals falls under this category. So moving on to the next, which is the genotoxic waste, or commonly known as the cytotoxic waste. So these are the waste substances with genotoxic properties. For example, the cytotoxic drugs which is used in cancer therapy, genotoxic chemicals, radioactive materials, strong acid and alkalis, concentrated phenyl, as well as the anti-cancer drugs. So all of these will be falling under this category. And then the next one is the chemical waste. Here, this consists of all the waste which contains the chemical substances, for example, the laboratory reagents, film developer, or any disinfection that is already expired or is no longer required, the solvent, gases, dyes, and even insecticides. So here any waste which is contaminated by the chemical substances is included in this category. And the seventh is the waste with high content of heavy metals. So these include all the waste which is contaminated with the high content of heavy metals. The most common examples for this is the batteries as well as the broken thermometers. The eighth category is the pressurized containers. So this includes the gas cylinder as well as the gas cartridges, aerosol cans. And moving on to the last category, which is the radioactive waste. This includes all the unused liquids from the radiotherapy or the laboratory research, decontaminated glass, waste packages, absorbent paper, as well as the urine and excreta from patient treated with seal sources. So all of these falls under this category. So these are the 9 category of waste, which includes the infectious waste, the pathological waste, the sharps, pharmaceutical waste, genotoxic waste, chemical waste, waste with high content of heavy metal, pressurized container, as well as the radioactive waste. So I will be concluding this topic for now. So in today's session, we have discussed about the biomedical waste management as well as its importance. We've also discussed about the types of hospital waste as well as the categories of waste. So I hope you have got a clear understanding of this topic. I'll be meeting you in my next video whereby I will be continuing with this topic, and there we will be discussing about the hazards associated with hospital waste, the segregation, transportation, as well as the disposal of waste. So until then, have a good day. Thank you.